In 1930s London, babies were often hung in cages outside the windows of homes. There are stories in history that every person wishes after reading them that he had never read them. History has different effects on different people. Some love to read about it while others prefer to live in the present. But the existence of some facts makes everyone wish they had never read these facts. These facts are sometimes strange and sometimes extremely terrifying. A ritual for the dead. During Queen Victoria's time in England, people took pictures of their dead relatives and pretended they were alive. Since photography was a new and quite expensive invention, people usually had the opportunity to take pictures of themselves or a loved one when they died. Family members often behaved in photographs to give the impression that the deceased person was still alive and well. Scratched coffin. Octavia Hatcher was a woman in Pikeville, Kentucky who lost her 10-year-old son and became depressed. After some time, he fell seriously ill and went into a coma. The doctors thought that he died due to severe depression and buried him. After a few days, several other people were caught in the same states as this woman, and it became clear that they all experienced the same type of illness. Realizing their mistake, the townspeople quickly rescued Octavia Hatcher, but it was too late. He woke up from inside the coffin and tried to find a way out, but died due to lack of oxygen. Today, a life-size statue of him stands where his grave was. Rosemary Kennedy's lobotomy. In the old days, lobotomy was considered an excellent treatment for mental health problems. One of the most tragic cases of lobotomy was performed on Rosemary Kennedy, the sister of John F. Kennedy. In the early years of her life, Rose experienced seizures and strange mood swings. His father, Joseph P. Kennedy, had him undergo a lobotomy to cure his illness. It is said that the lobotomy made his mental capacity similar to that of a 2-year-old child. He could no longer speak coherently or walk properly. She lived most of her life in solitude after her lobotomy, as it was hypothesized that her father was too ashamed to have her. French monkey. In the early 19th century, a wrecked French warship sank off the coast of a northern English town called Hartlepool. There was no one in it except a monkey. Since the English in the town had never seen a Frenchman before, they assumed the monkey was a French citizen. As a result, the monkey was tried and executed. Surgery on babies without anesthesia. Until the late 1980s, it was believed that babies under 15 months could not feel pain. Therefore, surgeons operated on them without anesthesia. Instead, they were given muscle relaxants, which resulted in the babies not being able to move and cry. However, babies felt everything, including cuts and pain. Hungry tiger. The Champawat tiger in Nepal has attacked villages after its natural forest habitat was cleared to provide wood to farmers. Since most of the animals he fed on migrated to other places, he had no choice but to eat human flesh to survive. He went on to kill 436 people in less than a decade, until he was killed in 1907. It shows how human intervention in the natural habitats of animals can cause the death of humans themselves. Man remains as medicine. Until the 20th century, human remains were a very common material in medicine. Adding a certain part of a dead body as a medicine was thought to help living humans to treat diseases in the same area. For example, eating skull powder was thought to help with headaches. The remains of mummies were ideal for this purpose, and therefore the number of mummies at this time was strangely low. A book that predicted the fate of the Titanic 14 years earlier. A novel was published in 1898 and was about an unsinkable ship that hit an iceberg. In this book there was also a lack of lifeboats and the ship was called the Titan. The similarities between the story and the reality are very confusing. Books made with human skin. In the 18th and 19th centuries, human skin was used instead of traditional leather to make some books. These books were made in the same way as normal books, only they used human skins instead of animal skins. The practice of binding books using human skin is called anthropodermic bibliography. Today there are about 10 approved books of this model. The contents of these books are also interesting. They are mostly based on anatomy. Interesting topics about the human body in real human skin in these books make this fact very attractive. Psychological tests were done wrong. In ancient times, when mental processes were not widely understood, doctors tended to perform unethical experiments and disturbing treatments on patients. The Stanford Prison Experiment and the Little Albert Study are two of the most horrific psychological experiments ever conducted. Little Albert had to experience playing with a furry doll in order not to be afraid of toys, which is believed to be the reason why he only lived to be 6 years old. While in the Stanford Prison Experiment, normal university students were placed in detention centers. Half of them played the role of prisoners and the other half were guards. It was soon observed that the guards started abusing the prisoners severely. The experiment was stopped 6 days later, and it was concluded that power and authority can make even an ordinary person tyrannical. However, some psychologists argue that this behavior is not due to a lack of power, but rather a human instinct to follow orders. Suspended babies. In 1930s London, babies were often hung in cages outside apartment windows. This may sound sinister, but the truth was that the apartments were small and cramped. It was said that babies need fresh air to grow properly, and due to the lack of a yard or a suitable space to play, babies were hung in a cage from the window. A disturbing way to be friendly with the environment. Genghis Khan is known as one of the most evil rulers of all time. It is believed that in the 13th century, he killed many people to reduce the level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. After killing 40 million people, his army left no one alive to work the land. This caused trees to grow again in these agricultural lands. It is estimated that these forests have helped remove 700 million tons of carbon dioxide from the air.